Hey, so this video I'm making is strictly for parents and coaches of how to actually support the athletes while they're going through their rehab process, so that way they can come back stronger, full confident, and with positive mindset, knowing that they have you support them in every single step of the way, and that they are internally grateful and know that when things goes wrong, once again, they can always count on you. My name is Dr. Nady Banasak. I'm the owner of Myokinetic Physical Therapy and Performance. We work with athletes all over the country regarding their ACL, UCL injury, and I've seen devastated, injury that kids have a hard time overcoming. And the one that are really successful has the best support system at home and on their team. So I want to talk about how you can curate that so that way your child, your athlete feel really supported by you. Number one, you have to be patient and you have to be positive. The way ACL and UCL, reconstruction works is that they take a graft, that graft needs to turn into a ligament, and the turning process of the grafts take 9 to 10 months. So that's a long time, right? However, I like to compare this to as being pregnant, right? So when you're pregnant, you wait 9 months for the baby to be fully developed, and therefore the baby can be nice and healthy, right? So you never go up to a mom and say, hey, let's try to have this baby earlier, because that's not the right thing to do. So if you have that mindset when it comes to letting a graft heal and turn into a ligament, that will give you a lot of patience, because you would never rush a pregnant person, right? And you're always going to be kind and gentle to someone who's pregnant. So when your child and your athlete's going through this, they need the same thing. What's that mean is that when they are going through, they're having a hard time at school because they're missing, their peers, and they have all this stress of not being recruited, not going to the school that they would like to go to play the sport. This is where you need to be patient and say, hey, let's get through this. How did you do today? Like, remember when 2 weeks ago you couldn't, bend your elbow, and now look at where you are. You can bend your elbow, you can pick up your book bag, you have no pain, you can brush your teeth really easily. Always be patient, but remind them, like, look how much you have, you have come, like how much positivity you have gained from this whole process. That's gonna put them in a way better mindset, right? You need to stop them on the track. We're like, hey, let's not go to that negative thinking, right? I would like to say, like, let's not let your mean mind take over. Let's focus on the things you have done, right? So that's number one. Number two is you always want to encourage good communication and transparency, because communication and transparency will build really good connection. Now, your parents, your kids are constantly growing up really, really fast. It's like one snap, they're out the door, right? Throughout the rehab journey, I've seen parents get so close with their child. It's incredible, because their bond gets stronger because they get to spend, a lot of time together in the car, coming to rehab, seeing what your kids are going through, and it's very relatable, right? So I always tell parents, like, hey, if you have an opportunity, make sure you share some of your struggle in the past, that what you went through, that you think it was going to be impossible to deal with, but you overcame it, because that's what they need right now. They need someone to be encouraging through, hey, I might not have been through the same surgery, but I have been through something challenging in the past when I was your age, right? This is going to give them a really good connecting point. It's going to make the athlete and the child, like, humanize you in some way, where they're like, oh my God, like, my parents, my coach went through the same thing. And if anything, they're going to feel grateful that you actually share that with them. And once you start sharing that, you become more transparent. Guess what? When they go away to college, they're gonna call you when they're struggling, right? You don't want your kids to go away to college and then not talking to you when they're going through some rough patches, because that's like the biggest fear when it comes to being a parent, right? Is not understanding what's going on, what they're dealing with, and then next thing you know, like, oh wait, why didn't you tell me? Because the trust wasn't there. So this is a good opportunity for you to build really good communicating skills and rapport and connection with your child before he or she go away. The third point is encourage them to focus on long-term goal, right? Not just the short term. We already touched on it of how if you just tell them, like, hey, look how well you did, like, compared to 2 weeks ago, That's good. That's going to be validating for them of all the hard work that they do. But you can say, hey, look, if you can bend your elbow, guess what? Next thing you know, working with Dr. Natty and his team, you're going to be able to get the baseball back in your hand soon, right? And based on the timeline that the surgeon is telling us, you should be on the mount within the next, 3 months. I was like, 3 months is a really fast time. It's like, so let's keep doing these little things, accomplish the short-term goal so that way the long-term goal become a reality, right? I have this framework where if success is guaranteed 6 months from now, are you willing to go through all the obstacle to get to that success? And that's why having short-term goal that build in and associating with long-term goal is extremely important. This is good for your household when it comes to your core value. It's also good for you, the conversation for you to have with your child and with the physical therapist that they're going to be working with. So that way, everyone's on the same page. The best result we get is when parents are on the same page, the athletes are on the same page with our team, right? So that way, we have a constant communication. The way we do things here is that we get a lot of information from the parents, like, hey, so-and-so is feeling a little down today. Can you just, talk to him or her based on this? And we need that, right? As a therapist, I appreciate those kind of feedback because I know how to drive the message forward. This is a tricky one, the next point, which is being involved but not overbearing, right? Because I know parents that we work with, they love really hard. They want to see their kids succeed. Sometimes there's a fine line between being a tiger mom or being a helicopter parent where you're overseeing everything. And when you do that, the child, the athlete feel like they're under a microscope and that they're not doing good enough, right? So you want to be involved when it comes to, hey, what did you do today? Hey, how do you feel? Hey, awesome. Like, what else is going on in your life? Hey, what are some fun stuff you want to do? Hey, let's read this book together. Hey, let's listen to this podcast together. Like, I'm always trying to find a way to gel the parents and the kids together throughout this whole process. So that way the parents are in it with them, but not overseeing them under a microscope and telling them they're not good enough. Because that's really hard, and and that's when you're gonna start losing trust. So try to find that line where you're involved, but you're not really just nitpicky. You're not being a dance mom. That's my analogy. The last point, what's really important is that you want to create a positive, stress-free environment that will keep the athletic spirit high, right? What that means is that, if you used to, go to a baseball game with your child, and now that he's hurt or she's hurt and you're not doing that anymore, the kid's gonna feel like, wow, now I'm not getting that time with my parents again. So take that time, but replace it with something else, right? Go to the park, go to walks, right? Do things together, right? That way they don't feel like they're being punished, right? Because they got injured. And then that way they're not gonna be, stressed out because of that. Because at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel significant. Tony Robbins say this all the time. And most of the athletes that we work with who are really good, they get their level of significance or their sense of significance from being a good athlete. But when you get hurt, that is being ripped apart. So you want to find other ways to make your child feel significant that is not involve the sport, but just involve them as a person. So that's going to be really important when it comes to creating that stress-free environment. The best thing that I've seen in our setting, because we're in a very athletic setting, it feel like you're in a professional or Division I strength conditioning. The athletes never lose the identity of being an athlete themselves, right? So you want to encourage oh, look, you're still moving like an athlete. Hey, if anything, you're moving faster. If anything, you're more aware. You have more flexibility, more mobility. So give them positive feedback. Just say, hey, you're actually still an athlete and you're actually training to be a better athlete than you were before you got hurt. Last thing is, when parents bring their kids to us, they love the environment and the team that we have. And what tend to happen is that they ended up referring their friends, their teammate, to our clinics. And what that does is actually create a team bonding environment. So if an athlete's coming in, they see, he sees his teammates here. So now they get to hang out with their friends, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're looking at baseball, if you look at any, high intensity sport, people will get hurt. And you get your kids, their teammate, to be in the same setting, doing the same thing, doing rehab together, all that stuff. Guess what? It's gonna gel that team chemistry even more. Now they look forward to come to the rehab. They look forward to seeing their friends here because they're grinding together still. It's like when you have a brutal practice, at the end of the day, the kids and their teammate, the bond gets stronger because us as human beings find joy in community, especially doing hard stuff together, right? So making sure that the teammates are here and, everyone's get to work together so they can see that, like, oh my God, so-and-so doing so well in rehab. They can tell the coach. And if you're a coach and you're listening to this, some of the best coaches that we have come through our facility, see how the athlete is doing. So that way they can be like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're doing so well. I'm so happy. And we always encourage the parents and the kids to send videos to the coaches. So that way the coaches know that, like, oh wow, like this athlete is like really working his butt off. So that's going to be an important way to just keep the athletic spirit really high, create a stress-free environment. In closing, like all in all, supporting athletes in rehab process is not going to be easy. It never is, right? But it's the most important role you can play in their journey. And it's the time they're going to need your support the most, right? Be patient, stay positive, and most of all, remind them that they're not going through this alone. You're right next to them. You're there with them every single step up the way. Your encouragement can make all the difference in how they approach their recovery, how they see themselves, as a person, and how they grow up to be an awesome adult that you want them to be. So again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you find this helpful. If you do, please like, subscribe to the channel, share this video to your friends. And if you're new here, we have so many good videos for you guys. So, we have a really good arm care routine here for our baseball athlete right out there, so that way they're not getting hurt. And we have another great video on addressing external beliefs, like all these limiting beliefs that kids are going throughout their whole rehab process. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.